I've just reopened my Oshiki lesson book. This is my third season with this mode, and every time it's more fun. There's always something new to learn, something I hadn't noticed before, because what makes hitoyogiri sound so special lies in tons of tiny details. Actually, when you pick up a hitoyogiri for the first time, especially if you're new to ancient instruments, there is a lot to take in. You start with a big picture and you refine it over time. It's very much a process that takes years, and interestingly, it's not a continuous process, actually. Not in a traditional learning sense, at least, because every time you revisit a modality or a season, you only get a few weeks to deepen your practice. You are basically season dependent, and practically that means you never stay for more than 3 months on the same modality, and even less so with modes like the interseason, because that one, you only play it for a couple of weeks between each new modality, between each new season. I find it both exciting and frustrating in a good way, because I love getting into the bottom of things, and the season always ends just as it gets interesting. But we're here to play Oshiki. In my last video, you heard the tonalities of the interseason mode, but each mode has a distinct yin or yang coloration. And what makes Oshiki unusual is that its tonal modality uses both. So it translates into a very balanced répertoire with very rich flavors and also a lot of modulations, actually. And I say flavors because hitoyogiri music uses a lot of hanbai, or salt and plum. It's the actual wording that is used in the ancient manuscripts to describe how you tweak a note with a hitoyogiri. You gotta remember that with an ancient instrument like this one, the note is not shaped by the fingering. It is shaped by the breath. It is shaped by the tilting of the head, and also with the holes you block. So this is the combination of the three is what makes hanbai possible. In other words, hanbai would not be possible on a recorder. So Oshiki is a modality that allows a lot of flavoring and a lot of hanbai. Then in terms of yuri, so the slow undulation of a note, yeah, about that. People usually compare yuri to a vibrato, but I really disagree, because the vibrato implies a vibration and a kind of tension, whereas here we're talking about a gentle wave, really. So this wave, this yuri, changes according to the modality, and in Oshiki specifically, it is described as light and gentle. What that means practically is that it doesn't really lean into darker or brighter inflections that you would use in the winter mode or in the spring mode. But that is a lot of information, right? So let's sum it up real quick. We saw that Oshiki is a modality of summer. It balances yin and yang inflections. It is reflected in the yuri, so the undulation on a note. And we also saw that we get to flavor our music in a wide variety of ways with a special musical seasoning called hanbai. Now let's play Oshiki. I'll play netori and I'll play shote. Those are preludes that open each practice session. Nick likes to say that by playing shote and netori, you get your heart and mind ready for playing. And I like that image. So remember that netori establishes the pitch, and shote extends your presence into the mode. This is what summer sounds like. Now, let's put it side by side with the season that we just left, the interseason, so that you can hear how we switch mode, but also mood. First, I'll be playing the summer netori, and then I'll compare it with the interseason ukagai. Those are different words, but they mean the same thing. They're telling completely different stories, right? Now I'll play the two shote, the one of summer and the one of interseason, side by side. You gotta remember that shote is the equivalent of the shakuhachi's honshirabe. So the two melodies share the same title and the same purpose, but that's it. They sound totally different. Now, quick story. I had a breakthrough by accident last week because of a small personal drama, but well, let me tell you about it. There's been this huge heat wave that hit the country, and normally we have a kind of British weather, like tempéré maritime, not too hot, but suddenly we had over a week of temperatures that were way above 36, peaking all the way to 40 degrees, which is huge for us. It was really chaos all over the country. And after a few days, my system crashed. It basically said, can't cope anymore. And I had to remain horizontal and very still for a couple of days, which is not something that I'm used to doing. And this gave me plenty of time to think about summer in medieval Japan, actually, because at that time, temperatures would rise dramatically for a few months, and people had no means to cool down. And somehow I was in that situation too, or in something similar at least. While I was going through it, it became really obvious that the summer mode, is asking for a very specific pace. Like, not plodding. The old manuals are very explicit about it, but you don't walk in the sunshine like you walk in the rain. Do you see what I mean? And the question is, how do you translate that musically? It also gave me a very different view of that yin-yang balance that is mentioned in the manuals, because I used to understand it as a balance, like finding your center, like grounding yourself. And it's not a balance as in centered. It's a movement. Like, picture a pendulum. When the ball gets out of kinetic energy and it stops for a moment, it's a climax before a collapse, or, the climax of heat before a storm, or the climax of light before the darkness progressively returns. Whereas the movement of interseason, which is also about balance, is the movement of returning to center. It's the interseason is like solid ground that you can return to. It's like a soothing ritual that you keep coming back to. It's a very different type of balance. Whereas summer is the silence before the storm. So yeah, the more you play, and the more you understand that the hitoyogiri is made to render natural cycles in sounds. But that's a subject for another video. Next time we'll see what the 16th century manuals tell us about Oshiki, and also what the different modalities tell us about ourselves. Thank you for being here, and I'll be seeing you soon. Bye!